Today on the channel, we got to deal with the devil like a young Judas Priest with the heels and faces, Kevin Sullivan.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here, back at it again with another Zombie Sailor Toys, Heels and Faces unboxing and review. And today on the channel, we got the devil himself. We got Kevin Sullivan. But for all your Heels and Faces needs, I guess heelsandfaces.com. Of course, Zombie Sailor putting stuff out all the time, as we do know. And this is one of those in-stock drops that are getting more prevalent. Oh, Todd McFarlane. Prevalent. Now you got me confused, Todd, but we do got him coming, just a straight drop. And we're seeing more of that from Zombie Sailor Toys. We're seeing it from Epic Toys. We're seeing it from Grapplers and Gimmicks. They're really the leader at the in-stock drops at this point. But we're seeing it more and more because I've been saying it on the channel for the last about 2 years. People are getting sick of having their money tied up on figures for years at a time. I love that we're going to more of this model, that is for sure. So I continue to see that coming in 2025 from Zombie Sailor and other toy companies. Even Super 7, who traditionally have been a year to 14 months to 2 years sometimes, their weight has tightened up as well. So here for that, there's definitely constant learning, constant improvement going on in the action figure game. And of course, speaking of the action figure game, how about this review? This review, we're going to do it like we do all the other ones on the channel. We're going to take a look at the packaging. We're going to talk about it. We're going to unbox it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to see where it goes from there. We got Kevin Sullivan Part 2, like Hot Shots Part 2 going on right here today. But we've had Kevin Sullivan before. Makes a lot of sense. Get the most out of your molds. Exact same figure with some new accessories and a fresh coat of paint, you could say, on this one here. The beautiful packaging art here, and that's old school Kevin Sullivan right there. Love the face paint, you know I'm a sucker for it. Love the blood, you know I'm a sucker for it. Snakes, not so much. Not a big fan of snakes, especially snakes that are in the water. Creeps me out a little bit, but very cool. Now we can compare him to Jake the Snake Roberts, and we'll stay tuned to that later on in this video here. But love the one-off packaging for this one. Feels different, and I should mention Kevin Sullivan passed away last year, so very sad to see the Taskmaster die. One of those guys that have been around since I started watching wrestling all the way to the end, working in backstage roles, podcasts, things like that. So shout out to the Taskmaster once upon a time. But this era of Kevin Sullivan for me, I first saw for the first time at like a Walden Books, I want to say it was, in the mall when I was a kid in the 80s. I didn't get this. I wasn't from Florida. I didn't get to see him. I had to look at it through PWI magazines, Ringsider magazines. And then I got this book, and I actually still have that book. I remember being so excited I got it, flipping through it, seeing all these pictures, and I remember seeing him and the Fallen Angel, of course, woman, Nancy Sullivan, at the time in there. I remember seeing pictures of him like, wow, that looks crazy. That's a lot different than Varsity Club Kevin Sullivan I'm dealing with in that day and age. So I really like what this is, and then going back, tape trading, watching old stuff, seeing this era of Kevin Sullivan, definitely cool. Getting part of that satanic panic going on in the 80s, of course, heavy metal music, new wave British heavy metal, Angel Witch, shout out to them if you don't know Angel Witch. Some of that, tying all that into it, really finding his niche. Oh, don't start. McFarlane with the niche. Tomato, Missouri. We can play this all day long, Todd McFarlane. But I do like what I see out of this Kevin Sullivan. I would love to see a Kevin Sullivan in Zombies Elite scale in the future. We'll see what that line delves into in the future as well. But looking good on the packaging there. On the back, got some colors, got that big cross sell. Get me these Road Warriors. Get me the Road Warriors like yesterday. Got those Zombie Sailor points. Are those going to go anywhere? What are we doing with those points? Got the file card down here. I'm here for that. And you got the Ron Rudat drawings as well. Oh, Leatherneck himself, of course. Kevin Sullivan, height 5'9", 250 pounds, from Boston, Massachusetts. Cold this time of year, just like where I am, cold. It does say the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne, what's he doing here? The Prince of Darkness will stop at nothing to please his master, the devil himself, old Satan, of course. Makes all the sense. Sullivan is the leader of the diabolical faction full of misfits known as the Army of Darkness, and he would have some guys come in and come out of that one stuff. Of course, Fallen Angel, Woman, a big part of that. Mark Lewin, of course, a big part of that. Was it the Purple Haze back then? Oh, what a wild dude. Looked just like a normal guy. Looked like a PE teacher, but then you get all crazy. His eyes would get going. You've seen it. And he would possess people, too. It was a wild time. Look it up on YouTube. Kevin is accompanied by the ring, or to the ring, by his beautiful yet sinister valet, the Fallen Angel. And I remember first seeing Woman as a kid. What was her name? Like Robin, was it Robin Green? Was that her name? And she was like a nerdy looking chick that was absolutely in love with Rick Steiner. But you know what? We were all in love with Rick Steiner. We all loved Rick Steiner. And then Braun Breaker, I told the story just recently. I met Braun Breaker for the first time. I said, love your work, Braun. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, I love you, man. And it got real awkward. I thought for a second, for just a split second, we were going to kiss. Thankfully, it didn't go down that road, but I thought it was just a wild time, that's for sure. But that was the first time I ever saw Nancy Sullivan ever, was as Robin Green, I believe was the name, if I'm not mistaken. And then Norman the Lunatic was there. It was a wild time. You had to be there, But looking good in the packaging. Hate to take it off the packaging, but it's what I do. I can't keep it all on card, that's for sure. Gonna pull it off, and as I always say, I try to keep the packaging as nice as possible. I try to keep these card backs, if I can, as nice as possible. That's why I appreciate the Epic Toys of the world. Rush Collectibles, their new Frankenstein, everything's removable. I do like that a whole lot, but there it goes. See you later, goodbye. And I got a pretty clean pull. A clean pull on this one here. Gonna save that card for later. Add it to the pile. That's what I'm going to do. But now we got the old Taskmaster. We got Kevin Sullivan out of the package. And let's grab his snake. I've always wanted to grab Kevin Sullivan's snake, and now I finally got my chance. Nice, interesting snake here, too. It's like a bluish color here. Is it a Burmese python? And somebody fact-check this. Mark Summers, you might be good. You spent some time down at Nickelodeon Studios in Florida. But I believe somebody said that Kevin Sullivan had a bunch of snakes back in the day, in the 80s, of course, and he let them all go one day. He's like, well, I'm moving on. I'm going to a different territory, getting a new gimmick. I'm not taking all these snakes with me. I called Jake. Jake doesn't want them. I'm going to just free him out the back of my house, and that's what he did. And now, of course, we've heard stories about these giant snakes that aren't originally from Florida, just running roughshod throughout Florida, eating cats, eating dogs, trying to eat people. It's just wild snakes. It's like Jurassic times now, but it all links back to Kevin Sullivan saying, I'm sick of these snakes. I'm going to let them go. Somebody feel free to fact check that one. One I can fact check there, though, is back in the day when I was a kid. Story time with Kyle, baby. That's what we're going to do right now. I had a bunch of gerbils, and we thought we got 2 male gerbils. The pet store, they didn't know where they're doing. Yeah, these are both boys. Yeah, they didn't know. We didn't know either because I didn't check. I didn't get the microscope out. But we had 2 male gerbils, we thought, but it was a girl and a boy. And guess what? We had 1 million gerbils before it was all done with. Ended up giving every classroom in my elementary school a gerbil, and just had too many. We had to get rid of them. It was just a wild time. But I gave a bunch to my buddy, and he's like, oh, no, I'll take a boy and girl. I don't care. I'm like, okay, it's your funeral. And that's what happened. He had millions of gerbils before you know it. And then one day I'm over at his house, and he's in the backyard. He's got this huge cage out there. I'm like, what are you doing? And I just walk in, you walk through the fence there, and he's just sitting there in the grass, and he lets it go. I'm letting these guys free. That's what I'm doing. So he let like 30 gerbils out in the backyard and said, run away, my friends. And I think they were all probably killed within like a day, I would imagine. Either the cold temperatures got them, or the cats in the neighborhood, or maybe Kevin Sullivan's snakes got them. Who knows? But wild times out there in the agricultural world, horticulture world, animal world. There you go. How about that? But you do get a snake right here. It is blue. Looks very reminiscent of Jake the Snake from the Hasbro days. However, this thing is very hard, rigid plastic. You try to bend this one around, you're going to crack and break this one. Wish it was a little bit more rubbery. Is what it is. Not the end of the world here, but definitely a creepy looking snake. I would not want this on me at all. But now we dive into Kevin Sullivan here. And Kevin feeling like we've been here before once again. Interesting, we got tape all around this chain, so I guess I didn't want the chain just kind of rattling around inside there. And it just seems to be taped up in a baggie. And there we go, we got it all out of there, and see you later. Goodbye. All right, Kevin Sullivan, let's get down to business. Like I said, we've been here before. This is the exact same body, exact same sculpt, exact same everything we got from Kevin Sullivan. We'll compare it later on in this video right here. But love the face paint going on, half black, half white. Like a young Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 6. He better be careful he doesn't get canceled for this. Got the blood on the forehead there. Had a tough night at the matches, of course. 2 eyes, 2 ears, a nose, and a mouth, and a big old tongue playing those human hits. Got that blonde, dirty blonde hair that Kevin Sullivan had going down there. He does got that choker collar here. Who knows what him and Woman were up into in their off time. She would be leading him to the ring, of course, by this little chain. I love how thin the chain is on this one as well. Looking very good. Got the blood on the chest here as well. Got the big X over here, of course. I should have just put a straight up pentagram throughout on there. If he really wanted to go full devil, he could have done that. very Demolition-like, and I guess he was before Demolition, but you got the spikes and studs here on the side of the forearm, then on the wrist. Got two black gloved hands going on, got the black boots, black trunks, arms going all the way around for us, waist articulation, head back and forth, and that's all you get it from the articulation outside of the hands, which do go side to side, back and forth. So you can make it a little bit different, but not terribly different, but that's where a thing like this snake really adds a lot to this figure here. Gives it a little bit extra personality, definitely a whole lot more pizzazz, and he does fit on a ringside collectible stand. Use discount code Kyle, save yourself 10% at ringside, of course. But I got the first version of Kevin Sullivan, as you can see, got the purple trunks going on there, but very, very similar. Obviously, I think this one was made in more quantities than this one, an in-stock drop, just a little bit more out there to appease the masses, keep the line going, keep something fresh out at all times. That's what we got with this Kevin Sullivan here. And I did mention Jake the Snake, the Roberts, of course, and we got his snake over here. Very, very similar, very reminiscent. But Kevin Sullivan's snake's a lot bigger, and I've heard that in the locker room as well. He does have a bigger snake. That was the rumor of the locker room. He might be a little guy, but he's mighty when it comes to his snake, of course. But I do like this one. I just wish it was more of the quality of this one. I like the rubberness of this one, especially if you were a player back in the day. But cool to get another snake in the collection. We're just adding snakes. We're a snake wrangler channel at the end of the day as well. But this Kevin Sullivan, a very, very fun figure. Definitely worth a pickup. You know me, I love my retro figures, especially old school wrestling retro figures of guys even before my time, like this Kevin Sullivan. But it's still very fun to have in the collection. But what say you? You here for this Kevin Sullivan? Is this something you need in your collection? Let me know in the comments down below. Of course, you made it this far. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the old notification bell. We got videos every single day, and then some. We got even more content for you on Patreon. Both channels funnel up there. You get all the glamour shots, giveaways, Q&As, pizza reviews, dog stuff. You name it, it's all over there on the old Patreon channel. Appreciate all the support. ProWrestlingTees.com, search Kyle Peterson. SirPaul64 on the X, _Kyle_Peterson on Threads, Instagram, and TikTok, maybe. We'll see what happens when that day does come. If it does really go away, we'll see where it happens. But Kevin Sullivan, we know, is here, and he's got his snake, and he's ready to go. So there it is. For Kevin Sullivan and his snake, I am Kyle. See you guys all real soon.